If you are feeling stuck in your career journey because of a career gap, let me tell you, there are many other people without a career gap also stuck in their career journey. Why did I say this? Because in the last 3 years, as a founder of Career Ownership Hub, I have come across thousands of professionals who feel that they are stuck in their career because they have a career gap. Let me tell you the truth. It is just a mindset. If you want to make your career gap one of the biggest barrier in your career growth, it will be. In a career of 35 years, a few years of gap cannot create a dent unless you allow it to create a dent. In this video, I am going to share 6 steps to help you resume your career journey successfully after a career gap. So take your pen and a diary and start taking notes as we begin this journey to help you resume, get back on track successfully in your career journey. Step number 1. It is about your mindset. Accept the gap. Embrace it. Stop feeling guilty about it, because if you are feeling guilty about the gap, this reduces your confidence in the interview. You will never be able to convince the recruiter or the interviewer that you are a fit for that particular position. Instead of feeling guilty, start crafting a nice story to justify the gap. The gap could be planned gap, it could be an unplanned gap because of personal reasons, or it could be a gap because you are laid off. Whatever it is, if you can craft a nice story, then you can convince the recruiter about the gap. So instead of feeling stressed and guilty, start becoming more creative. Step number 2. When it comes to mentioning this gap in your resume, feel free to mention it. Be transparent about the gap. Do not highlight it, but do mention it. And as you mention it, you should mention what were you doing during the gap. Because if you do not mention the gap in the resume and you share it during the interview, it might come as a shock to the recruiter. And this leads to lack of trust. The most important thing that is required between an employee and an employer is trust. So let's continue building more and more trust by making a resume as transparent as possible. But what should you mention in the resume? And that's where I come to step number 3, upskilling yourself. During the gap, you should start brushing up your existing skills, and you should also be aware of what is happening in the industry. What skills you should start learning. Now, if there is a personal reason which doesn't allow you to upskill, that's okay. But just before you start looking for the job, towards the end of the career gap, you should start brushing up your skills and getting aware about the new skills. Why I say this? You should appear as a person who is proactive. You cannot just go and sit in the interview and keep crying about the gap. And this is what you will mention in the resume. And what did you upskill? How did you upskill? What are the new experiences that you got during the gap? So as step number 3, start brushing up the skills and start upskilling yourself. Step number 4, while you are sitting in the interview, do not make this gap as an excuse if you don't know answers to a few questions. Because this shows your weakness. This again makes the gap more important part of your career, which is not true. So never use the gap as an excuse to your lack of knowledge. I'll tell you again, even people with no gaps are unable to answer a few questions in the interview. So it is normal. And coming to the step number 5, when you start searching the job, try not to switch profiles while you are resuming your career. You have to continue with the same profile where you left, because that is your strength. That is where you can justify that you are the right fit. That is where you can justify that you will start contributing as soon as you join the position. So don't fight 2 battles at a time. You are trying to close the gap and you are switching the profile. It means that you are fighting 2 battles. And then you might have to compromise on the salary and the position as well. So go with the same profile so that you can also ask for a raise. Yes, I mean it. You can ask for a raise even after the career gap. It is all about the presentation and the storytelling skills that you have to cultivate. Last But most important point, please understand, no rejections happen because of career gaps. Rejections happen because of performance during the interview. Rejections happen because you are not able to present your story in the right way. So you must understand that the 30 minutes that you get in an interview is not about focusing on the gap, it is more about focusing on the performance. One advantage that you have with a career gap is you are an immediate joiner. Unlike the other people who are working, they have to serve a notice period. And in the last 3 years, I have realized companies are preferring people who can join immediately. The trend is changing, and if you have a gap, you must take benefit of this trend. So without worrying about gaps, without making the gaps as a big barrier in your career journey, start working towards crafting a nice story. Follow these steps, and let me tell you, you will get back on track easily with a success story. For more such insights on your mid-career journey, subscribe to my channel, like this video if you like each and every point, and stay in touch.